Most DLC is just the same as the base game, but some developers put a twist on it or do something that really stands out. We all know the heavy hitters of DLC like Rockstar that set the bar sky high with GTA's Ballad of Gay Tony and Lost in the Dam, and of course Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare. CD Projekt Red has also impressed with The Witcher 3's DLC and Cyberpunk that was well received this year, which got me thinking, was there any DLC that wasn't big and flashy and kind of went under the radar that did something fun or unique that deserves a shout out or something that meant something to you? What would be your picks for some awesome DLC that just didn't get the love and recognition that it deserves? Maulding, you want to start?
But I want to do a shout out to some of the older Far Cry games had some really great DLCs. And one in particular that they turned actually into a game itself is Blood Dragon. And Blood Dragon was this super stylized kind of version of Far Cry that felt 80s. It had like neon colors, and it gave me this feeling of like an arcade aesthetic to it. If I remember correctly, when you killed someone, they blew up into pixels, or maybe I'm making that up. I feel like that happened. It's been a really long time since I played it. But when you mentioned DLCs, Dan asking us what we were thinking of, that was the very first game that came to my mind was Blood Dragon. So if you haven't checked it out, you might even be able to play it for free on Game Pass. I think it was there at one point. It might not be there anymore. But yeah, that was a good one.
That was a fun one because they actually announced it on April Fool's Day, and then we all thought it was a joke, and it turned out to be a real game, and then it was part of the DLC for, was it Far Cry 3? And then it was so good they spun it off into its own standalone game. I mean, yeah, I'm a huge fan. Agreed. Yeah, good call.
Agreed.
Thanks.
Yeah. Lord,
well,
what's your first pick?
I gotta say, this is a bit of a throwback game here, but one of the most standout DLCs that comes to mind when I think of DLCs, I just always think of Starcraft Brood War, an old 1998 classic. And back in the day, all my friends, you would hop on your family computer and you would be playing some Starcraft, and you would be like maybe even playing online, which was very advanced back in the day. And when this one came out, well, it not only introduced new maps, which were like totally necessary because you had already played the other maps to dust. It had also new units, and then on top of that, it had the sexiest cover art for a game. It was like
Kerrigan.
It's Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nancy Kerrigan?
It was Nancy.
Yes, it was Nancy Kerrigan.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, with the busted legs. And no, it was. She's actually like kind of like this. She's part of the Zerg crew. She's kind of like this infested.
Well, she had been a good guy that had been switched, right?
Exactly, and she is
Maulding's
basically
down
on
with this. He knows.
Yeah, Maulding. Did
Spoiler
you play?
alert for a 30-year-old game.
Did you?
I did. I wasn't very good at it, so I never got involved in the online stuff. I just can't move I can't process things as fast that you need to do to be a real competitive Starcraft player. But yes, I definitely played.
We had like the hotkeys down and everything. It was crazy. It would be some quick stuff going down, but awesome game. Seriously, like some people do claim it's like, it's one of those things where it's so good it's like a brand new game, and that's all you could really ask for in a DLC.
So do you have the Widow Kerrigan skin in Xbox or in Overwatch?
I don't.
No,
I just can't
then
do
you're
it.
not a true fan then.
I know. I should. I really should. But, maybe one of these days when I want to drop like $30.
There you go. That's probably how much it costs now, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe one of these days. But
Dan, what's yours?
Great DLC.
I'd say my first pick of awesome DLC would be from Mass Effect 3. And I'm not talking about the Citadel Legendary DLC, which I'm sure is great, but I never played. I'm talking about that sweet-ass multiplayer that probably not many people played. That was some of the best DLC. Now it shipped with the game, but you had to pay $10 extra if you bought the copy used, and then it got tons of add-ons, whether it was weather or anything like that. The reason I pointed it out here is because not only was it a fantastic DLC game, it was pretty much the precursor. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to say it's a precursor for Helldivers 2. And the reason why is because you would drop in, and these levels were much more contained, but you would drop in, kill a bunch of aliens, run around, get all of your stratagems and different weapons, and then at the end you would run to the launch pad and you would have to hold out with your buddies waiting for the countdown for this thing to come in, and then you would jump in and then you would get your credits and you would upgrade and rinse and repeat. I don't know if you guys ever tried any of it, but it was outstanding.
Wait, that sounds
what do you
exactly
mean?
like Helldivers.
Dan, we used to play together. What do you mean you don't know if we
I'm just giving you the opportunity to jump in here.
I don't know if any of you have ever tried this. We played it all the
time. Okay, did you like it or did you not, Butthole?
I loved it. It was so much fun. And a special shout out to the sound design on some of those levels, and some of those powers were, they were just delicious.
Oh yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Let me just get this right. This is Mass Effect?
Yeah.
I know. It's not, and then they did the Legendary Edition, and my ass is like, yeah, they're going to bring back the multiplayer that was the best. And they were like, but we're not bringing back multiplayer. And I'm like, you lazy buttholes. Then they tried to put the same concept of multiplayer in Mass Effect 4. So don't get confused with that one. It wasn't as good, and they missed exactly the sweet spot that made Mass Effect 3 really, really good.
But servers are, as of a year and a half ago, the servers are still live. We're still live for it. Yeah, we jumped in and played. It didn't feel as good because it's aged, but when you were in it and when it was current and when it was that gen, it felt so good.
Yeah, that was back in the 360 days. All right, Maulding, what's your next one?
Mine was Dawn. So, I mean, again, these aren't. I don't think these choices were looked over, but I loved the Dawnguard DLC, both of the DLCs for Skyrim, but especially Dawnguard, because it allowed you to become a vampire, and it gave you vampire powers, a whole vampire quest line, a vampire achievement that you got for maxing out your vampire powers. Throughout the whole game, you could play as a werewolf. But this was the first time that you got to do vampire stuff, and I loved it. I love Skyrim. I bought it 3 times probably for 3 different systems. I would still boot it up now and play it if I didn't have all these other games to try out. So that was a really great DLC that I really remember.
Did you chomp a bunch of necks or what?
Yeah. One of the things that really sucked is you get to a certain level in your vampire powers and you can't travel around in the daylight anymore, and it makes it really hard to do stuff. But the balance is your powers are so much better. So yeah,
well, at least it's authentic.
Like you get just as powerful enough that you can still go out to the daylight, and then you try. It's like vampire edging. Did you do that?
Oh, I edged those vampires hard. Yes.
Good.
Lord, what's your next pick?
My next pick is just an absolute classic, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and those DLC packs. And don't ask me which courses they drop on between each DLC drop, because I feel like there's so many levels now. It's crazy. I can't keep them straight. But they dropped how many, Dan? They probably dropped like 4.
No, I think they dropped
more than that?
6, and then it was 6 for each, and then it was just incredible.
They dropped so many free DLCs, and I gotta say,
it wasn't free. I was paid $25 for season pass.
Yes. Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess you would, but then you can play like a million freaking levels all at once, and on top of that, you're playing with your friends, and just, who doesn't want more Mario Kart is what I'm trying to say.
But it was so much too. It was unbelievable.
I know. I feel like the quantity, I feel like Mario Kart is like the live service of Nintendo. And
Yeah, pretty much.
they're just going to basically have that go on forever, which is probably good because they just never need to release like a Mario Kart 9. Maybe they will once a new system comes out.
Once they quit selling.
Yeah, I don't see that happening for a while. So for now, we're with Mario Kart 8 and all its sweet DLC. How about you, Dan?
My last pick is completely obscure and completely overlooked, but it was super, super fun. And this is probably another one that's fun in its day. It was Dead Rising 3 Super Ultra Dead Rising 3 Arcade Remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha. And it was released in 2016. Yes, that is
Wait, sorry, I didn't catch that. Can you say what it was called again?
No, because it was basically Capcom making fun of themselves. It was a fighter version of this game, but you were stuck in levels with tons of zombies, and you had to get from point A to point B, or you had to find something, or you had an objective. But I mean, it was just wall to wall zombies, and they would give you these incredible powers. And at first it was really hard, but it's multiplayer, and then you worked your way up and you unlocked different powers and costumes, and the whole thing was just this race. Sometimes you got on vehicles, and it was completely absurd, over the top, super silly, because that game is already pretty silly, but you can tell from the name alone that this game was incredible.
Which was what?
And it
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It was Dead Rising 3 Super Ultra Dead Rising 3 Arcade Remix Hyper Edition EX Plus Alpha.
Perfect.
That tells
Thank
you all
you.
you need
Thank
to
you.
know.
I didn't catch it the first time.
It was one of those DLCs, like the rest of the DLCs for that game. It was criminally underlooked because it was the launch title for the Xbox One that nobody bought, and then the DLCs were not co-op, so that's no fun. And this is the one that was. And man, it was just a party. It was good times. We're checking out if you ever have a game.
Yeah, I love that title so much. It's so good.